Hi friends. We have some pretty big astrology as we lean into this incoming eclipse portal. The eclipse is going to open this year, this season, September 17th and close October 2nd. And as I was sitting with the charts this morning, I really felt a couple of pieces drop in just ways that we can prepare our minds, our bodies, our souls for another one of these eclipse windows where the veil is thin and a lot comes up from the unconscious or the subconscious in those 2 weeks, and then we kind of take that into the next 6 months and work with it. This is also just falling on quite a time for those of us here in the US. There's been some stress, there's been some tension as we kind of look ahead into the fall and things going on here in the States, and then just worldwide too. I mean, you just look around you. So my intention with this is really to just allow us to take a deep breath, to kind of soften in to these bodies, into this present moment. I love to say I'm not a predictive astrologer, but I am one who loves to just tune into the energy that's here and kind of call in just some tools, some gifts, and some allies, maybe some planetary allies for these next couple weeks as we lean into this portal. So on September 1st, we had 2 things happen. Uranus, the planet of change, the change agent, a lot of times we'll say, Uranus is also like the renegade and likes to bring these winds that come and they do cleanse, but there is sometimes a release, a letting go, a purge that happens when these winds of change blow. It's kind of inevitable that we're going to see that shake things up in our personal lives and for the collective as well. Uranus stationed retrograde on Sunday, and so it's going to dance back through some territory that it's already transited through. So we're going to look at some of these themes around Taurus energy. Uranus is in Taurus right now, and so this is our resources, our values, what's important to us, what caused us to feel safe and secure and stable. So there may be change in some of that energy, but Taurus, in its wisdom, it knows its resiliency. It knows its innate worth. And we're going to touch on that worth, enoughness, worthiness story here in a little bit too, with some of the other activation happening, especially this week, this first week in September. So Uranus stationed retrograde, same day, September 1st, Pluto dipped back into Capricorn. And this is so significant, guys, because Pluto has been dancing through Capricorn since 2008. So it's been a long time that we have been with this Lord of the Underworld, some say. Also, he rules our soul's evolutionary journey. Like, my soul is a single being right here on this planet, and the souls all around me, all of us in this unity, in this oneness together. What are we leaning into? What are we evolving as a civilization, as a species? So this is Capricorn that we're talking about here. Capricorn is masterful at setting new structures, and yet so much of the wounded energy around Capricorn will bring us into some of that patriarchal energy, the controlling, the authoritarian, the dominating, kind of my way or the highway. And it's just charging forward and kind of aggressively and in a powerful, sometimes manipulative way. It's doing that. It's playing that game. When I tune in, though, to the wisdom that Capricorn brings, as so many mystics right now are calling these years in here the turning of the ages, where an old paradigm, an old way that has been kind of controlling the powers that be on planet Earth at this time and for hundreds, you could even say thousands of years. There is this this story that is rising from the deep, deep, from under the ground under our feet. It's a new way. And that is this turning of the ages. Now, do we know what that's going to look like, sound like, feel like? No, we don't. But I think that we are all kind of feeling that there is a new story that is wanting to emerge. It's wanting to rise, and it's around the corner. But how do we get that? How do we do that? If you ask me, it's being connected to these bodies as the living myth. Like, we are the cosmos embodied. So as we traverse through our day-to-day, through our unique soul evolution, through our sacred yeses and our sacred nos, through learning, this is for me, I'm going to pursue this, I'm going to create from this or out of this. Like, this is how we co-create this new world, this new age together. And it's going to take time, is the other thing. This isn't like an overnight process. Like, we'll be doing this for the rest of these incarnations right here. So there's not pressure and there's not rush attached to this. It's inevitable. It's happening. That's why we're seeing so much chaos. That's why we're seeing so much tension. Because there is a decaying and a decomposing happening simultaneously. That's creating fertile soil for this new space to arise. And it starts here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Pluto is going to be in Capricorn September 1st through November 20th. And then it won't enter Capricorn again in our lifetimes. We will be in Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years, and then we'll move into Pisces from there, and so on until it comes all the way around the circle again back to Capricorn. So the amount of karmic completion, and I do not say that lightly, there's a mystery when we touch this territory, because these are cycles, yes, from 2008 until now, but you can also say and feel into, with Pluto ruling this soul evolution, that this is stemming back into past incarnations, even in your life, in your soul's journey, in your ancestry, in your lineage. So can you feel for a moment the potency and the power of who you are now? What you have lived in this lifetime, what you have lived and been exploring and evolving in your life since 2008 is getting closure. Something is wanting to complete. And so what I would offer and ask, especially as we are going into this eclipse season, is, can you name some of those things? Things that you feel a closure on, themes that you feel maybe a structure around your life, Capricorn, that is dying in a way to be reborn. And Pluto in Aquarius is the sign where there's a new way of doing things that maybe we haven't even touched before. There's a freshness to it. It's air. It's illumination. I like to feel into, in my own personal journey, like Aquarius for me is letting my wild woman in here, letting her be seen, letting her rise, letting her come forward, letting her speak. And it is not status quo, and it is a little more out there. It's a little bit, feels scary because it's a little more risky. But Aquarius knows how to do this in a way that it brings community together. It helps you find your soul tribe. And the reality is, like, when we actually touch who we are, and as terrifying as it is, when we let the real us come forward and start to mingle in our communities and start to actually speak our truth, what we think, what we value, what is authentic to me and to you, that, yes, it may repel people. Great. Honestly, fantastic. Because in the same way that a magnet repels, it's going to draw in the ones that are to be here with you, especially for whatever this is that we are co-creating on this planet. So trusting that death and rebirth cycle that Pluto knows so well, that is so scary for our human bodies, but it is a part of being alive. The other thing that happened the next day on September 2nd is we had this new moon in Virgo. And Virgo is the sign to me that is brilliant at finding the sacred in the mundane, bringing the spirit into matter. It is an earth sign, but it's mutable, so it's adaptable and it can move with change. And you know, the thing I really love about Virgo too is it's sharp and it's smart and it's like, it's quick. So especially the fact that we have this Uranus retrograde kind of blowing through a different energy of change in our lives, that the next day we'd have this new moon in Virgo that's really, I mean, Virgo, when it's wounded, here we are at some of this like inferiority complex, feeling like I'm not enough and I need to be productive. I need to do, like, check the things off my to-do list. I need to make X amount of money. I need to, whatever the thing is for you, to equal worthiness, to equal, and then I'll be enough. And then I'll have reached the space that I like longing to reach. But the thing about it is, there's always going to be another hoop to jump through. There's always going to be another space that it feels like, oh, well, I need to do this to make it into this goal. It's that cycle's never going to end. So this is where I feel the real wisdom of Virgo is knowing that about itself. Like for me, knowing that about myself. There's always going to be another goal. There's always going to be another hoop that I'm going to jump through. So how can I allow the truth that my enoughness is not determined by my productivity, but is determined because I live and breathe and I am right here, right now, enough, whole, worthy, loved. Virgo is so good at discernment. And so this is what kind of dropped in as we're approaching this eclipse, which will be with this, the sun will be in Virgo and the moon will be in Pisces for this first one on the 17th, is using the art of discernment. So not using the discernment to nitpick all the parts of me that I wish were different or I wish could change or I wish could do better, but to kind of sit in some grace and feel, using the discernment, okay, what's alive and wants to kind of transmute through the eclipse and then into these months after, especially with the Pluto in Capricorn wrapping up with this karmic thing, like using the discernment of Virgo to really hone in and simplify what that is. And then that's kind of like your assignment. And can you feel that there's life on that then? And it's not tied to doing something right or doing it well to be worthy. It's coming from worthiness. It's coming from enoughness. And then it's allowing whatever cycle is there with the Pluto piece to actually reach completion and fullness. And then it's like we open again into Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years. So this, again, it's pretty big stuff. And the other piece in all of this that I'm really aware of is I am a deep devotee and lover of the planet Venus. She is my chart ruler. And her cycle really mirrors and links with the myth of Inanna. I have another video on my channel here telling that myth if you're interested to hear that in more fullness. But where Venus is in her cycle right now is she's come out of this summer underworld journey and she is ascending again in the sky. We're starting to see her. If you haven't seen her already, she's been visible. She's an evening star phase, and one of my teachers, Adam Gainsbourg, calls this the phase where she is remembering and she is embodying. So we are actually simultaneously this week with Uranus retrograde, Pluto going back into Capricorn for the last time, and this new moon in Virgo. We also have a Venus gate that's happening on September 5th. And a Venus gate is when Venus and the moon merge together in the sky. And this merging is happening, it's mirroring this myth of Inanna in the sacral chakra in our bodies. So there is a very deep and powerful energy here around, for those that are female bodied, the womb space, and male bodied, that hara space. And whatever you resonate with, like, go with that. But that sacral area is a point of power in our bodies. It gets us into our desire. It gets us into like our sacred, our juice, what lights us up, what turns us on, what gets us flowing, what makes us want to create, what makes us want to like actually express in authentic way who we are. And I'm such a teacher and again, just a devotee of learning, like what is Eros? What is aliveness? What does it feel like in my body when I'm so in my center, when I'm so in my truth, that these impulses of aliveness then rise, and I'm like co-creating with life in a way that actually feels like magic. Like, this is part of being human and divine, which we are both, is learning how to do this, learning how to soften enough and surrender enough and relax enough to find that center and then really merge with it and co-create with it. So this Venus gate in this sacral chakra will be in that space for a month. And so the whole time we're in the eclipse portal, there is this emphasis on that area of our bodies, learning how to touch it, learning how to listen to it. And maybe you've been on this journey for years. I've been on this journey for years. But there is always, especially when we use that beginner's mind energy, there is always some other exciting thing to discover, to explore. And this is where I feel that the beginner's mind, the curiosity, the not getting stuck and stagnant just because like you've been maybe on this kind of a journey for years. There's a freshness here, especially with the wrapping up of one cycle with this Pluto energy and opening into this whole new way. I don't know about you, but for me, there's so much mystery on that. It's almost like, in a lot of ways, I can't see past the end of this year. I really don't. I don't have a very strong sense of what is coming, and yet I can feel that something big is coming. It's shifting. It's right around the corner. So if you resonate that, if you relate to that, I would honestly just like encourage you just doing a daily little, it can be short, check-in with that sacral chakra in your body and see what information kind of arises from that space over the course of this next month as well. The other thing that I just want to presence is that September 5th, as this Venus gate arises, we also have Mars entering Cancer. And this feels really beautiful for me as we're coming into the eclipse portal here in a couple of weeks, because Mars is like the divine masculine that in a lot of ways I see the divine masculine kind of as like the protector, as the kind of like the barrier, so that my feminine energy inside of here can create and can spiral and can shapeshift and do what she wants and needs to do. The masculine is also like, it's our desire nature. It helps us take action. It helps us kind of like lean into like, okay, Like, this is what I'm wanting. Like, how am I softening and magnetizing? Like, receiving some of that would be more Venusian, Venus. How am I leaning in and actually taking action steps to sort of like reach for the thing? But there's a balance between these two, right? It's like we're not just like, reciprocity is the giving and the receiving in balance and equilibrium. So with this Mars in Cancer, Cancer being this sign of the mother, in its wisdom, it knows what we need in the deepest places of these watery bodies to feel safe, to feel nurtured, to feel nourished. So we have the divine masculine in this sign of the Great Mother. And what I would invite us into for these 2 weeks approaching this eclipse portal is to allow some of that Mars energy that's really good at being productive, taking action, charging forward, getting the job done, to fall into the arms of the Great Mother, of the nurturing, nourishing feminine. And I feel that a lot for me, especially when I'm touching Cancer at a body of water. But if that feels like it's not attainable to you where you live, to go to a lake or a beach, maybe it's literally just going into your backyard and sitting yourself down in the grass and feeling Mama Earth. Because she's earth and water and fire and air. And allowing her to hold you. Because I have a sense that I will probably do another video that's a little more focused on the eclipse as we get closer. And I'm also going to be opening up my eclipse portal readings again, just for this window of time, because this can be intense and a little extra holding and a safe space of somebody to witness you and your process and even guide you through where some of these transits are actually hitting you, is very valuable in these seasons, for sure. So you can look out for that on my website this week and book one of those if you feel led to. But more than anything, I'm just really feeling this Mars in Cancer here. Letting there be a soft, watery grace. I'm almost getting this image right now of like when we were in utero, when we were in our mother's wombs, all of us were at some point. That umbilical cord and the fluids around us, like we were held in water. We were made in water. And almost like the energy of the jellyfish that'll come in and just move and pulse with the currents in the deep, deep ocean. And that liminal, that like levity space where there's not that weighted, heavy gravity. It's like you're just floating in the water. Finding pockets once a day to touch that energy. I would be honored in a reading to hold you in that sort of energy. That feels like it would be helpful. Because the eclipse in this Pisces territory is going to get lit up, and that can cause a lot of emotions to arise. So I'm seeing and feeling into this time incoming as being quite emotional for a lot of us. And so many of us were trained that emotions and being emotional is not a good thing, and it's hard for us to even touch them because sometimes we've stuffed them so deep inside. So as we approach this eclipse portal, and here at the end too, I'm just going to bring in Saturn as the initiatrix that I feel her to be. An initiation is when an old part of you reaches completion and dies to be reborn. It's that phoenix rising from the ashes energy. And Saturn is the initiator. She's the initiatrix, I like to call her. So she's in Pisces now and has been and will be for another year still, off and on. More on that later. Where I'm really feeling the guide here is to, when the emotions arise, using titration, of course, we don't want to just flood your nervous system. At the same time, creating space for yourself to really let them come through is going to be a key right now. So I think that that's all I'll say for today. Let's close around again that idea, especially with the new moon this week, that your worthiness is not linked to you being productive. And in fact, there's a song that I love that is called "Healing Is Not My Purpose." And in one of the lines of it, she says, "Rest and ease is productivity." So we are all busy. We are all doing all the things. I know we're working. We've got our lives. There's a lot of moving pieces. But take the rest when you can. And when you feel your body asking for it, I promise you, if you give it, if you let yourself really relax, really feel into some of the emotions that are coming up, you will receive the gift of rebirth in these areas. It is absolutely inevitable and written into the natural cycles on this planet. Deep love, deep gratitude for you being here. Please reach out and book an eclipse portal reading if you're feeling like you need a little extra grounding, a little extra holding. And yeah, I'm here for you, cheering you on. Much love.